guys, it's Jesse here from Elevate with another chemistry video. Now what we're going to be doing is tackling another question to help develop our understanding. It's not just about going through the motions, but it's really understanding the concepts behind the scenes. So when you try to tackle another question that might be a little bit more challenging than this one, you know what's up and you'll be fine. So the question we're going to be tackling right now is from the 2014 HSC chemistry exam. And of course, hopefully pretty obviously, this is question 22. What I want you to do is hop online, download this exam, have a shot at it, and pause the video. Fantastic. Now, as I said, hopefully you didn't find it too difficult. Now, what I'm going to be doing right now is actually ignoring all of this portion up here. And instead, what I want to focus on is two bits of learning for today. And the first one is the concept of how a bomb calorimeter works and some key assumptions. So what we've got here is a standard bomb calorimeter setup in which we have some sort of fuel source, or heat source rather. In this case, it's a spirit burner containing some sort of alcohol, and it's providing heat or energy to some sort of solution, typically water, and we're measuring that temperature change, in this case using a thermometer. And that's about as simple as it can get. Now, of course, this fuel source doesn't necessarily need to be some sort of alcohol that's being heated up. It could be some sort of electric wire, hopefully not into water, but it could be any sort of heating system, and it measures the energy released. Now, there are a couple of key assumptions, and the first huge one that hopefully you're aware of, perhaps from actually doing this as a classroom experiment, is the fact that if I put my hand near to the flame, I'm actually going to be feeling heat. And what that means is that not all of the energy is actually transferring into this water. Similarly, when my water starts to heat up, it will start to give off its own heat to the air around it, to the beaker, and then from the beaker to the air itself. And what this means is that not all of this energy that's stored inside here, is chemical energy, is being transferred into the water itself. And that's why we actually get a difference in these theoretical and calculated values, but we'll discuss that in just a second. So let's move on to see what this question is actually asking. On the grid below, graph both the calculated and theoretical heat of combustions against the molar mass of the alkanols. Hopefully that's pretty dang simple, and I won't bother actually sketching the full thing. I'm going to give us some approximate values in there, because otherwise I would be here for half a century. But don't worry, you guys get to actually do this sort of thing in an exam. So things you'll want to make sure you have is an axis, both my x-axis and my y-axis. And my x-axis is simply my molar masses, my molecular masses, and my y-axis is simply my heats of combustion. So I'm going to go from 0 all the way up to 3000. Make sure that your axis is consistent, guys. It's one thing that I see pretty often. Don't suddenly go from 10 to 12 to 20. That'd be pretty insane. So make sure you don't end up doing something like that. Now, I'm not going to place the dots precisely where they should be. Hopefully you do. But they should be sitting roughly about here, 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 here. And when it comes to drawing a line of best fit, you know you want to use a ruler. Now, I can't actually use one on this tablet, but you want to make sure it's dead straight. And it's a line of best fit. So this means it doesn't necessarily have to pass through all these points, but it should do a pretty good approximation. Now, these are my calculated values, and I definitely want to indicate that on the graph. And then I'm going to be putting in my theoretical values. And they're going to be sitting roughly here, 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 and here. And if I want to draw a line of best fit, again, you should rule this, something like that, and I'll write that as theoretical. Now it's up to you if you just want to write these things next to it, or you can draw some sort of nice little legend, whatever you see fit. Personally, I'm a fan of just writing them next to it. Alrighty, so now it says, discuss the validity of the student's investigation. Now it's a little bit of a tricky question because we haven't actually read what's happening here. So let's scroll back up, and now it's time to read the question, because often you can actually ignore that. The student performed a first-hand investigation to determine the quantitative relationship between heat of combustion, that's this stuff here, and molar mass of alkanols, so changing out the fuel. The student did this by burning different alkanols to heat water, as shown in the diagram above. The calculated heats of combustion for 4 of the alkanols are given in this table, so those are the values that we actually used. So now what we're looking at is how valid was this entire investigation. Now, of course, overall what was trying to happen here is find some sort of relationship between the change in enthalpy and the molecular weight of those alkanols. Now this is pretty well supported, because if you actually look at it, these two lines that are shown up here are pretty dang similar. So I'd like to say overall, you know what, it's pretty valid. Of course, don't use this sort of language in an exam, I'm just trying to get the concept across. But overall, it's pretty valid. However, what's the difference that we're noticing here is that the theoretical values are always slightly higher. And try and think about why that would potentially be. And again, we talked about it here. What were some of the limitations of this bomb calorimeter? Well, it's the fact that this heat is going everywhere else aside from the water. So it's not just going to the water, but it's going everywhere else as well. And that means this theoretical value is actually going to be significantly higher, because this calculated one has assumed that this tiny fraction of this heat is all of it, which is incorrect. So we'd say it's pretty valid, but theory values are much greater due to some inefficiencies, and hopefully you can think of some off the top of your head. But let's go for the main one, which is heat loss to surroundings. Awesome. Now we can leave it at that. There's 1 mark, there's 2 marks, and unfortunately it's a 3-mark question. So what could potentially be left? Now this might not be within your curriculum, but for those of us who do have it in there, and regardless, it's useful to understand, if we notice these 2 lines are always pretty similar. They're almost the entire same distance apart throughout their entire stretch. And what that means is that it's a systematic error. That means whatever was wrong in this experiment right here was the same thing that was wrong here, and wrong here, and wrong here. And the ultimate goal of all of that is that means we controlled variables where possible. So that means that for one of our experiments, we didn't suddenly have some massive gust of wind, or we didn't suddenly use too much of our fuel, or we didn't suddenly have a different thermometer. That means all of these tests were the same, one after another, and hence there's this consistent difference that's involved. So that's the big takeaway here, guys. What a bomb calorimeter is, and some of its limitations, most notably heat loss, and then also the difference between this systematic error that we have going on here and the otherwise random error that might occur. I look forward to seeing you in the next quick video, guys.